So we're here with Tosin and Dare, the co-founders of Chekkit. Thank you so much for making the time to meet with us.
Your pleasure.
What exactly is Chekkit?
I would say Chekkit is an anti-counterfeiting platform. So basically, we set out to protect consumers to make sure that what they are buying is authentic, because over the years, a lot of lives have been lost to counterfeit drugs. Those are the quantifiable facts, but the ones that are not quantifiable are even more. So we set out to produce this to protect the consumers and also protect the manufacturers, because they've been losing a lot of money to counterfeit goods. So Chekkit is just the way where consumers can make sure whatever they are buying is directly from the producers. I think that's a holistic view of Chekkit.
I mean, overall, just like you said, we're basically an anti-counterfeit solution. But the interesting thing is that we don't just protect products, we also give insights, to producers on how they can actually better improve the quality of their products through insights on how consumers are engaging with their products, through environments where consumers are buying their product from. So this way we provide more like an end-to-end protection, which goes from the warehouse to the retail point and then to the final consumer, making sure that at all checkpoints there is authentication. Because you realize that counterfeiting in the market, particularly in Africa and Asia, happens as a result of inefficiencies in supply chain processes.
And I think in addition as well, our solution also helps the consumers to report their bad experiences with products. Yeah. So we give this information to regulatory bodies so that they can take action and clamp down on bad products in general.
Okay, so you've already mentioned drugs. Are this the only products that you are providing this service for?
No, we are focused on pharmaceuticals and FMCG products. So anything people consume, basically, from healthcare products to cosmetic products to food to beverages. So we just want to make sure that anything you put on your body or you use is credible and it's authentic, it's safe to use, basically. So we just don't focus on pharmaceuticals. We understand that pharmaceuticals have a lot more, how will I put it, effects health-wise, because when you consume fake drugs, you can readily tell the effects. But there are other consumables that have a lot of effect but are not readily quantifiable, because we know that in Africa, for example, there's a problem with data, with statistics on a lot of things. We only have data as regards to the problems of fake pharmaceuticals, but there is no readily available data as to regards the effect of fake FMCG products. So we focus on both markets.
So how exactly does it work? How can consumers benefit from it?
So on the consumer end, we put labels on products. So our labels are QR based or numeric. So numeric labels
based or numeric?
Or numeric, yes. So the numeric codes can be authenticated via USSD, so without internet. And that happens just by USSD process, basically like you dial *347* the PIN hash. And once you do that, you get to know if the product is authentic or not. We can also ask you 1 or 2 questions just to gather data, gather insights about your experience with the product on that same USSD process. Also, you could get rewarded. If the producer decides to give you a reward, you could get instant airtime, and all this can happen on that USSD process. The same way with the QR, you can just scan to authenticate using the Chekkit mobile app, or you just use the Chekkit web app, which you don't even have to download. So basically, we make sure consumers can easily authenticate using their mobile devices with our labels. But the interesting part is we also have our labels printed with Tagant materials. So Tagant materials can be authenticated by specific devices. So this way we allow law enforcement agencies or regulators to have specific ways of authenticating our labels, which cannot be easily counterfeited. On the flip side, we also have easy way for consumers to authenticate our labels using their mobile devices, basically.
Okay, so I get the product, any product, and I can basically get a code on the product, send it via my mobile phone, and then I receive all this information from you guys about how authentic the product is. And I could also, if this is without internet and if I do have internet, I could scan the QR code and get the same kind of information.
Precisely.
So we understand that mobile penetration, it's not so like smartphone penetration in Africa is not as great as in other parts of the world. So that's why we actually leverage the USSD, where as you dial it, you are getting immediate feedback. So currently, I think there are other methods of authenticating products, but a lot of them are SMS based, and we discovered that it takes time, and sometimes it might not come to the SMS inbox of, it can go to spam, for example, because there are apps now who regulates text messages, and sometimes there might be issues with the network. But with our own solution, once you dial the USSD code, you are getting feedback instantly, and you can verify that this is a legitimate product. Yeah, and regardless of in rural areas, for example, you do not need to, as far as you have a phone, you recharge your phone, so you are already used to that process. So the onboarding time is quite easy. You don't have to educate people on how to use your solution because they are already used to using a USSD service. So it helps that it can spread to the far reaches of the African continent, and that's the beauty of the solution.
Where did you get the idea to build Chekkit?
So Chekkit started off at MEST, that's Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology in Ghana. That's where I started off with Jida, one of the co-founders, before Tosin and Adelowo joined us here in Nigeria. We started off mainly by looking at inefficiencies in supply chain on the continent, right? Because counterfeiting was already a huge problem. It's a problem costing over 1 million lives annually across the world. And most of these numbers come from Africa. You know, if you look at most African homes, you realize that there are oftentimes just one breadwinner. Oftentimes. Now imagine when this breadwinner falls ill, for instance, and then he wants to get well, he goes mistakenly buys counterfeit products, which makes him worse. Now that's not just putting that person's life in danger, it also puts all the people depending on him or her also in danger and risk. That's a huge problem that affects us here in Africa. So why don't we solve this problem at this core itself? You know, there have been several solutions in the past that provide anti-counterfeit ways of checking products and the likes, but none of them really tackle product counterfeiting at the core of it, which often happens in supply chain processes. So inefficiencies in supply chain is actually what leads to counterfeit, because then you can have products being diverted from different markets into another market. You can have switching of goods, you know, while it's moving in transit. So we've basically built a solution that's end-to-end. Basically, we enable producers to create unique identities for their batches, for their cartons, and then for their individual products. Now, these unique identities can then be used to track these products in real time from the warehouse without any hardware installation on the trucks, whatever, just using the QR and a smartphone of the driver. So then the driver is mandated to scan at pickup and at drop-off points, and then we track using the GPS of that smartphone. Then when it gets to the retail points, the retailer can confirm, and also consumers can confirm by authenticating the individual products. So basically, we make sure that, you know, at every step along the way that product is moving, there's authentication across from the batches to the cartons to the individual products. You know, making it difficult and more difficult for counterfeiters to break that supply chain, essentially.
I would say something as well. At the end of the day, one of our drivers is impact. Obviously, every business is started to make money. If we just wanted to make money alone, there are a million other industries we could have focused on. We probably would have gone into the fintech, which is getting a lot of investment, but we wanted to make an impact and we wanted to touch lives. We wanted to save lives. And he mentioned the figures about millions of people losing their lives worldwide to counterfeit products, and a lot of those people are in Africa. Our goal is actually to drop those figures by as much as 70%. And if we drop it by as much as 70% in a year, we'll be saving millions of lives. And I think that gives us joy, knowing that, yes, we have touched the lives of Africans. Not just touching the life of Africans, we have touched the lives of Africans by a product and an innovation that was started in Africa and grew up in Africa and remained in Africa.
Why did you develop that drive?
Well, I would say the drive has always been there.
Yeah.
Has always been there because, like he mentioned, I was not part of the founding team at the Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. So when I met, we had known each other for years before that time. So when we met back while he came back to Nigeria, and then we got talking about what we were currently doing, and I could see the passion in him. I could see that Larry just doesn't want to make money. It's not the typical greedy capitalist.
Yeah.
You get, he actually wanted to touch lives, and it resonated with me because I also like that. I think drives like this just don't come overnight. I think these are things that come from growing up and watching loved ones lose their lives, watching the wrong narratives being spread about Africa. I think these are things that you grew up with. You just don't sleep and you wake up one day with all that drive. So I'm sure it's all came from his upbringing, because I know it definitely came from my upbringing as well. So yeah.
And what were you up to before building Chekkit?
So before Chekkit, even before Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology, I had founded 2 companies in the past, 2 startups as well. One from my university days, which got over 30,000 students signed up before I left school. Then afterwards, I started a music company, a music streaming company, which I got offer from Warner Music, which I didn't take. And also, we signed about 3 million tracks to distribute in Africa from Fuga Technologies in Europe. But that's also, was my last company before I started Chekkit. So basically, I've just been very much of a software person. Even though in my background, I did geology, which is more of a science, course, studying earth, minerals, and the likes. But then at the core of it, I'm a scientist. That's how I like to see myself. So I love to solve problems using technology. So I love to build solutions and then drive it into the market to make impact, to make change, essentially. So yeah. So when I started off Chekkit with the team, the passion was really around being able to make an impact, a huge impact that cannot be, denied, essentially, and that can leave legacy for us as Africans in Africa. So basically that's the core motivation behind the company.
Yeah, when we met, actually, because we met in our mandatory 1-year youth service, because yes, after university education, every Nigerian is mandated to go through that 1-year mandatory youth service. So we met during that period. That was while he was working on his music streaming platform, and I think what brought us together was our love for entrepreneurship, because while he was working on that, I was also trying to see how I could get a solution for students, a commerce solution for students off the ground. So that was what I was working on when we met. So after our 1-year youth service, I had constraints with funding and technical ability. So I decided to take up paid employment to actually raise funds. And I worked in a financial services company for about 3 years, where I was their IT business manager and online business manager generally. And I was able to grow the company's online services considerably over that period of about 3 years. And in I think it was June this year, I decided, okay, I have done as much as I can in that regard. It was time for me to now face my passion fully and with 100% focus. Before then, I had already been working on Chekkit. I was trying to balance working on Chekkit and then working my 9-to-5 job as well. Yeah. But I think that was in June. Yes, in June this year, I decided, okay, it's time for me to focus on Chekkit 100%, and it's been fruitful. There's been ups, there's been downs, like with everything in life. Yeah, you get. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far. It's great working with this guy here. So
yeah, it's great working with him too. So yeah, it's been fun all the way, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that you both come from a tech background. Did you build the software yourself?
So I have a lot of experience in software development, but I'm more focused on user experience, user interface and user experience. That's my core. So basically, yeah.
Well, as for me, I'm more focused on digital product marketing and product development. So we actually we have a technical co-founder who is not here. He's called Adebola. So we figured that, okay, it's best we segment because we have a lot to do as Chekkit. Aside building the product, we also have to liaise with these producers, because a lot of people are skeptical about technological products because they're like, okay, what can this do for me? So there has to be a lot of negotiations going on. The product is just one aspect of the business. So there's a technical co-founder who is in charge of the technology in that sense. But in terms of innovation, we usually have regular brainstorming sessions where we share ideas. So it helps that every one of us has a technological background, because we can understand where the product is going to. You get what we want the product to be in exact terms. Recently, when we employed 2 more developers, the onboarding was so smooth, because when we had these conversations with the developers we employed, they were like, wow, in weeks they were able to get where we were coming from, where we are, and then our vision for the future. So it helps that we are both from technological backgrounds, because it's easy to communicate our vision in terms of technology.
Other than having this tech background, what else would you say has contributed to you guys being able to bring this project to life and make it a reality?
So first of all, the company is barely a year old right now. And we've also done over 30,000 consumer authentications so far, and we work with 3 major brands. That has not been easy. That has happened mainly not just because we had technical backgrounds, because really technology is not enough to sell this product.
Exactly.
But we've had a lot of seasoned advisors on the team that, in combination with us, have over 200 years of experience in the FMCG space and pharmaceutical space. So we're talking about people who have worked in the financial sector, like the CFO of British Petroleum, who is one of our advisors. Also Liz Jones, who has over 25 years of experience working in Pfizer. We have also a legal advisor that has worked with the Mayor of London before. One of the financial advisors on the team is also the country head for Green Tech. So basically we have a very robust team with lovely people who have great ideas, basically a lot of experience. Now this is what we basically use in crafting our products and also selling it, and also engaging with clients, basically.
And I would say we should not also forget the fact that the both of us have actually had experience starting companies and then growing them to a certain level. Like he said, he started strictly UI back in university. I think my first foray into entrepreneurship was rather informal. I was actually back in the university. I had an aunt who was residing in the UK as a then, so I got her to import stuff she buys there, and I get these things, and then I sell. So basically, I was not spending money on buying products, but I was making money off selling it. So we've had these experiences in selling stuffs. Like he said, he was able to negotiate a deal with Fungap Technology to put their music on his streaming platform. So we've had this prior knowledge about negotiations, about business development, about strategy. So all this combined together is what has been pushing us. And then, like he said as well, the competent team of advisors we have on board, they know everything. So it's like every time we experience a roadblock, we have an advisor who has the solution, or who will point us in the right way. So we are blessed. We are actually blessed to have all this working for us.
I'm very curious, when you started, what were the kind of doubts that you had?
That's a very good question. So I, for one, personally had a lot of doubts, but generally I always have doubts, right? Because I like to test myself, test my thinking, test my hypothesis, and see, if validate them, basically, right? Before I make a choice, before I make a decision. So when I really started off the company like a year ago, in October here, with the rest of the team, one thing that was on my mind personally was I was trying to see a year from now what would be happening if it was still going to exist. That was a major doubt on my mind. But funny enough, 3 months, that doubt flew away from my mind because I knew the company was here to stay. Because in that 3 months' time, we had an MVP out. We already had one company using it at that time. So they already validated the fact that we are onto something big. So basically, it changed the narrative in my head, hence changed the narrative in the company. So oftentimes I feel it's what we see or what we experience as a company or as a team together is what is playing in our minds, right? What's playing in our minds in the background. So if we already have that mindset that things are going to work out, things are going to be great, it happens, it materializes in real fact. We just need to work towards it. But once we have that mindset, we keep working towards it. So yeah, there'll always be doubts, but there'll always be, once you validate them, you move on and make proper decisions.
I think I still wake up every day with doubts in my mind. It's something you just can't shake. It will always be there because there are days you would have like really serious lows. Recently we've been trying to speak with a lot of producers, and then there are conversations we have that just makes you feel like, oh, man, whoa, is this ever really going to work? Because you get calls and people act rude to you and like, please, we're not interested. You get days like this, and those incidences can actually raise the doubts in you. But at the end of the day, I think what keeps me going is understanding where we are going to, the destination, and those doubts tend to motivate me, because when those doubts comes in my head, I tell myself, I will prove you wrong. Regardless of, yes, these are problems, these are going to be challenges, but I will do my best to prove you wrong. And it's been what's been pushing us till date. So the doubts never go, but I guess our drive, our vision trumps the doubts every single day.
Yeah.
What about your family and friends? How did they react when you guys decided to do this?
So that's a very funny question. My mom still doesn't understand what I do.
Mine doesn't as well.
So I mean, I've accepted that. Tried as much as possible to break it up to her, make her understand it. But she's just like, okay, fine. At least you're not doing anything shady. Yeah. And I show her the products. Show her it's technology. And as far as she sees that it solves a problem, right? It's when we did the Dufil project, and we could actually put that out and was in ShopRite malls and all that. I could take pictures and show it to her and say, Mom, see, now she understands. She can put a face, she can put an image to what I'm telling her, right? She can easily conceptualize it compared to me just telling her stuff, right? So yeah, I mean, family will definitely, especially the older ones, might not necessarily understand what you are doing as regards technology in this age. But of course, siblings and the likes are always very supportive. Big time. I mean, when we started off the company, most of the funds that we raised was from family and friends, from loans, from family, and friends. So basically, that already shows that they believe in what we are doing, right? That validates that they believe in us as individuals and what we are capable of. So yeah, that's a lot of reasons for us to wake up in the morning every day and keep going at it.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
They might not understand what you're trying to do, but I think the thing is they believe in you as a person.
Yeah.
I had a call with my dad recently. He probably doesn't know you because he was so not happy with the fact that I quit my 9 to 5, because he was like, you are to do what? Are you? But he called me one day out of the blue and he was like, well, I trust you. I know you have always been industrious. You have always been a smart person. Whatever you do, you would be good at it. So they usually do not understand it. I can remember another conversation I had with my sister, and she called me and I was like, what was that thing you're working on? Is it check it out? Or is it,
check it out.
Like, no, that's not it. So my older brother has been a good support as well. He's currently trying to do introductions for me to FMCG and pharmaceutical companies as well. So family has been very, very supportive. Without that, it will be very tough. Yeah, it will be very, very tough. But that support, especially when you are not yet making as much money as you can make, you get that kind of support, that kind of emotional support. It's perfect. That call of, hey, Dari, hey, Tosin, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry, you make it. It will become a success. Those little things
Goes a
what
long way.
$1 million bucks
Yeah.
you get their
Goes a
priceless.
long way.
I'm actually quite glad that you brought up the fact that sometimes your family members don't really understand exactly what Chekkit is. Which brings me to my next question. How has been your engagement with consumers? Because counterfeit drugs have a very big reach, not only people in the town who are well educated and can understand what this is and what a QR code is and so on, but even people in the village and people in like smaller towns need this service, right? So I guess it's a bit of a double question. What does your target market look like, and how have you been able to engage with them and to explain to them what it is you're doing and how they can benefit from it? Because you've already mentioned that you have 30,000 people using the software, right?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, our strategy right from time, based on how we've entered the market, which is through FMCGs, is that we work with the FMCGs directly and work with the advertising agencies. So the advertising agencies kind of controls putting out the information and, you know, getting people to authenticate the labels, right? Because they work with the FMCG directly, right? And we work with them together, right? So it basically makes it easier for us to target that market in that sense. However, our reach is about to get a lot bigger because we are looking at, you know, scheduling and bringing up programs that we're going to go into villages, go around towns and run like monthly sensitization where we actually let people know how they can authenticate products, you know, but we want a lot more of our labels to be on products, right? Because then more consumers will be interfacing with it, and then they can know, okay, when we are telling them about it, we're not just telling them about it, they're actually seeing it on the products themselves. So right now we're looking at that scale. We've also been able to do a couple of partnerships now that can allow us to do over 1 billion labels per year. You know, so we've already put those partnerships in place. So as much producers as possible that comes to us now, we can serve at a very much more affordable price as compared to before. Before we had these partnerships on ground. So basically, we have positioned ourselves to be able to do those large numbers in amounts of labels, and that way we can reach a lot more people. And that way our message to them will also be very much more appreciated because they can then start using our labels easily. We've also made it very easy. That's why we did the USSD process of authentication, where consumers don't even have to send SMS. They just dial the code like they're recharging their phone. Yeah, so because something they're already familiar with, so it just makes it easier for them to do the process. What we're looking to do going forward again is to put local languages on the authentication process. So by the time you're authenticating, you know, what you're saying is a feedback in your local language, depending on where you're from. So you can even select the local language you want it to be served for it to serve you in. So it keeps serving you in that particular local language. I mean, we want to engage as many consumers as possible because really that is where the value of our solution is. The more people engage with it, the more people report their bad experience with products, the better we can end counterfeits in the market.
So part of our education also comes from, like you said, we understand that the consumers might not be so aware. You get it's a problem. I think that was one of the major reasons why we came up with the reporting of a product feature on our application, where if you use a product and you have a problem with it, you can easily just take a picture and then write the details and then report it. And that report, we are currently talking to the Federal Consumer Protection Committee to see how that report can be acted upon by them, and then that same report you can share it on social media. So I think that was part of our strategy to make sure that, so it's like you doing user-generated content for awareness. So by the time you are sharing these bad product reviews on social media, you are sensitizing your friends and followers on social media as to the ills of bad products and all this. So by doing that, our message gradually will spread, and then as regards the to the rural areas, yes, we are going to partner with regulatory bodies to see how we would go right in front of these people to talk to them, and then our labeling on the products as well comes with the warnings. You get it's we know that design is a big part of what we want to do, so we've made it that our labels, the warnings are visible. So when you are buying, it's going to be hard to ignore. So when you buy the product, what's in the market now, if you buy the product, the labels currently in the market can easily be ignored. You get it, you just look like, oh, what's this here? But ours are going to be tamper-proof, so it will go on the opening of the product. So before you open it, you would interact with those labels. And in those ways, even if at the first time you don't get it, the second time you don't get it, the third time you don't get it, the fourth time, the fifth time, the sixth time, as the more and more you buy, the more you see our labels, the more you begin to understand what we are trying to do. That's why we want to put our labels on as many products as possible, and that's what we are currently trying to do.
You know, to actually be able to achieve that skill also easily is where we built our technology around those labels, which is that FMCG, especially FMCGs, because they are the ones that can run promotions and the likes, they can actually be able to assess consumers' interaction through those labels. Basically, they can run promotions. So if you scan the label, for instance, you can see an interface of that particular company running a promo or whatever. So giving that consumer incentive to actually constantly check labels. Like one of our clients, like I mentioned earlier, they were giving out airtime to consumers. So we had like 100% conversion on the labels that we did with this particular client because they were giving out ₦1 million worth of airtime. So every dial comes with an airtime, right? So basically that engaged the consumers directly. That also guaranteed, conversion of the labels into authentication. Now it's basically a win-win in the sense that the consumers get authentication, they could also get incentives, and then the producers get data. So they didn't just spend on promotion, they get data, they get insights on how consumers are using their products. They also have data which they can even use to retarget those consumers later in the future. So it's basically a win-win. On the government end, the government can have a central report system where they actually get information about, reports and the likes as well. So it's a win-win for all, basically. Yeah.
Okay, could you please talk about one more time what it looks like, how you're using the software for the supply chain? I know we've talked about it. I even read it on the website, but I still don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay, basically this is how it works. So when you, in your production line, when you make your products, when they are going to supply, it usually goes in boxes or cartons. So now those cartons containing a lot of products, individual products, for example, a box can contain 40 unit products. So that carton now will have a separate label going across it, a tamper-proof label across the opening of the carton. So from the solution, you can make orders for deliveries. Your drivers have their own applications. So for example, after you produce it and you put them in cartons with the labels, you can send out delivery orders, and then the driver gets a notification that he has a pickup. So he comes. Before he picks up, he has to scan the code to authenticate it, to show that, okay, I am picking up this and this. So in our solution, you can scan multiple products at once. That's the beauty of our scanning technology. If you have 100 boxes, you can just go across and scan everything, and then know that, oh, I've picked it up. Because before you can start your trip, you have to scan those boxes to know what you are picking up. So as you scan to pick up, you start your trip, it tracks the smartphone across the driver's trip. You can give him directions and everything. The producer can get alerts. For example, when the driver is going off route, or when he has gone offline, they get alerts to know that, oh, your product might be in danger or something. So we track you across the chain, and when you are dropping it off, you now have to scan those boxes again to drop off. So what that does is to make sure that whatever was picked up were the same that was dropped off. Yes. So by doing that now, this is the beauty. For every product, even every product inside now, a consumer who is authenticating those products can also get information as to where every of his product has gone to. So for example, if the products were going from Lagos, for example, to another city like Abuja, or from Abuja to Sokoto, so someone who scans in Sokoto can know that, oh, my juice, for example, was produced in this factory. From this factory, it came to this terminal. From this terminal, it came to this terminal before it finally got to me. So there's a history of every product. So you can say that all our solutions work in synergy, and when deployed across board, there's there's no limit to what it can do. So basically, that's how it works.
I love that. It's a very tight-knit solution.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if you have any insights as to how then counterfeit products infiltrate the market.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, it basically starts at the supply chain, right? Inefficiencies in the supply chain, because most of these producers in the market here do not have clear visibility or transparency on what is happening in their product once it enters into the market. So a producer who produces medicine in India, for instance, manufactures his drugs in India, ships them to Nigeria. Once they get here, he hands off, right? Because it now becomes that of the distributor, who's the local company. Now the local company takes charge of that product and then tracks it up to when it gets to their own warehouse and the likes. Then they take it to the retail store and distribute, right? Now, that moment in which the product gets into this market, first of all, what if there are a lot of things that could happen in between that scenario, right? Which is one, what if the product that is actually coming into Nigeria is not even meant for the Nigerian market? What if it's meant for the Ghanaian market, for instance, right? It's shipped to the Nigerian market. That's one. Secondly, what if the distributor, who is the sole distributor in the country, decides to add 30% counterfeits to whatever he's getting from the producer so that he can make more money?
And sell to the wholesalers. They would not know, because they will see it's coming from a recognized distributor, so it should be legitimate.
And it's even worse when you now have, because now that is a scenario where you have like a monopolistic supply chain where you have one major distributor. But even in a very broken supply chain like we have in Nigeria, the pharmaceutical supply chain in Nigeria, where you have several tons of distributors, you don't really even know where products are coming from in that scenario, which is even worse. Now, like in Tanzania, for instance, I've heard about a particular distributor who distributes a particular alcohol brand. He's the sole distributor in the country. But when the product comes into the country, he opens them, uncorks them, decants into another extra empty bottle, and fills both bottle up with water and ships into the market. Because he's the sole distributor of alcohol in that market. But you can't even ascertain that, this person is not going to do anything wrong because he's the sole distributor, but it's actually giving the person a lot more chance to do anything wrong. So it's much better when you don't even leave trust in the hands of people. It's better to have a central system that you can trust, but it's not just even because the system is central, it's actually because the data is open to everybody. Transparency.
And you forgot to even add even the drivers who transport these products. A lot can happen en route.
Yeah.
They can be switched. Yeah. You get it? Because this can be a way for them to make a little extra money on the side. They can switch these products with the counterfeiters and all that. So there's just so much currently. There's just so much leaks where a lot can happen. You get, so that's what we are trying to do, to make sure that the leaks are as little as possible, and if possible, eliminated 100%.
For you guys, what is the essence of your business model? Where is Chekkit actually refinancing itself?
Okay, good question. So we charge separately for our supply chain products and for our consumer intelligence products. Mainly with the labels, we charge a per label fee, which basically is sustainable on its own, because then it covers our printing costs, it covers every other cost, basically. However, we've even reduced that drastically now by 90%, you'd imagine, mainly because our cost of production has also reduced. But that is much more effective or efficient when the client is doing large volumes. So it's a volume game now, right? It's a volume game now, particularly for FMCG, where they're very price sensitive because, they play on a margin space where they also make their profit off, little margins, but play more on volumes. So we have to use a model that is much more sustainable for them, right? So that's why we've gone into that model for the labels. On the supply chain parts, we charge an annual license of about $10,000, which gives access to track 50 drivers. Then for every additional driver you want to charge extra, we charge about $200 to $300 per year. So basically, the business is self-sustaining. The revenue is enough to keep the business going, essentially for a very long time. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So I think that can also give us the security that you guys will be around for forever until the problem is solved.
Yeah,
Yes,
precisely.
we are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We will expand across Africa, across the world, hopefully, into space if we get to space one day.
I really love that, and I just, I really want to point that out, because for me, that is really the moment that any impact-driven business, or any impact business is, where we can be sure that the impact will only be increased. The moment where it's also financially sustainable in one way or the other, because then it will only be the choice of the founders, basically, if this project stops, right? And otherwise it has the internal resources and revenue to keep it going, and that's such a sweet spot. So I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you very, very much.
Another question for me right now would be, if you could partner with anyone, who would that be, and what would you ask them for?
Okay, we have a bunch of people that we really would love to partner with, so that's a very good question. So first of all, starting from how we've actually built the technology, we built the technology to be a complementary ERP solution. So ERPs take care of processes from requisition to production to warehouse storage. But what happens when the product leaves the warehouse and gets to the final consumer? Nobody knows. But that's what Chekkit does. So basically, Chekkit is a complementary ERP solution. So what that means is we are very open to partner with ERP providers. Currently, we've partnered with Microsoft and Cisco. We are looking to do more partnership with Oracle, SAP, such that we can then list Chekkit as a product on their ERP solution.
Okay, so it integrates like a plugin, basically.
Yeah, basically a plugin.
That's one of our competitive advantage as well, because all our solutions are built as APIs. So not only that can we plug into these complementary ERP solutions, other people can build on our solution. So the scope for innovation is not limited. If you like what we're doing and I would like to extend its functionality, in your own sitting room, you can decide to extend the functionality of Chekkit as well. So we are opening it up to everybody to build on it and make Africa secure.
Yeah. So that's on the ERP side. We're also open to partner with packaging companies. So likes of Nampak, Tetra Pak. So this is the idea here is we are trying to digitalize packages, right? We are trying to make packages smarter.
Smart packages,
yeah. Right. So basically, we're looking to be able to replace barcodes and the likes on these packages with our QRs. That scenario doesn't necessarily mean that we're trading away barcodes. No, it just means that our QR will have the ability to recognize your existing barcode, and you can recognize and hold that information on that QR. So the QR will just be smarter in the sense that you can now track that QR with our solution, right? You can track where it's going to, you can track where that package is going to, and it's more very specific because then the QR creates like a unique identity for these packages. So we can plug it into Nampak, into Tetra Pak, make their packages smarter, and basically give a return on investment to their producers rather than just increasing costs for them. Thirdly, government. Right, so our labels are created to basically has extra layer, multiple layer of authentication, which makes it exceedingly perfect for tax stamps. So basically, we're very open to replacing tax stamps in countries like Ghana, Kenya. Basically, like I mentioned earlier, because we're printing our labels with Taggant materials now, it basically creates multiple layer of authentication that can be authenticated by government with a special device, and by consumers also to get a central report system that gives government insights on what is going on with the product in real time on the market based on consumer engagement. And then on the producer side, it doesn't really look like they are spending more money because then they're getting a return on that investment back exceedingly. So it's partnership with government is very much more something I would appreciate because then it's basically creates a win-win for all the stakeholders in the value chain.
Wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. I hope that someone picks it up here. As you mentioned, SAP. Maybe we can find someone there from Germany for you guys. I have one more question. Oh no, actually two more questions. My first question is a detailed question. You said before that you could, with your innovative scanning technology, that you could just basically point the scanner at a bunch of packages and scan everything. What is that technology called? What are you using to make that?
So it's artificial intelligence, and we have also partnered with a very robust software development company in Swiss, where they actually build this scanning technology.
Okay, so it's still scanning QR codes?
Yeah, it's still scanning QR codes, where you can actually scan numerous kind of labels. So it could be 2D barcode, it could be 1D barcode, it could be matrix scan, it could be QRs, but we've tailored ours to QR because our labels are mainly QR based. Aside from the target material and aside from the numeric codes, we use QR mainly because we know how our QRs are secured on our servers, and the data is encrypted as well. So we also use the blockchain technology to ensure that we can constantly update the information stored in this QR, and it can also be encrypted.
So no other scanner will scan our codes.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yes.
Without having access to our API or information, yeah.
My final question would be, what would be your advice to young Nigerians today?
Well, to young Nigerian entrepreneurs.
And actually to young Ghanaian as well, right?
Yeah, of course. Young Africans in general. Yeah.
I would say you just have to have a lot of patience. The idea that you can start something now, and it's very possible to start a business, to start a venture, and then become profitable in months. But it's not likely that will happen. So I would say have a lot of patience and listen to people who have been there, listen to people who have done that, and it will help you sidestep a lot of landmines that ordinarily would have probably shattered you. So I would say be patient, listen, and then be visionary. Be visionary, because I get to see a lot of people try to make solutions and cannot, how will I put, scale outside Africa, because I feel aside making things for Africans should be making things for the world. So in your invention, your innovation, in whatever you do, try to do stuff that can be exported out of Africa and to the world. So that would be my advice to young Africans.
Yeah, for me, it's quite similar. However, I believe in solving problems. First of all, I'm of a school of thought that you can start a business with $0, $0 naira, zero whatever in your bank account. Mainly because if you solve a problem, first of all, somebody's going to pay you for that. Someone's going to pay you for that solution that you have, because if that person really has that problem and is a pain enough, so that this is also where market research and validation is also very important. So before you even venture into creating a solution or even building anything at all, you want to build an MVP version, a version that can be easily tested by someone and validated. So first of all, you find out if the problem is real, right? And validate how large it is, how big it is, how much of a pain it is, and for who in particular, because you need to know who's going to pay you. So for who in particular is a pain for, then you create a sample solution and test it with that person. And then, of course, if the person sees that it solved their problem well enough, they're definitely going to be willing to pay you for it. So I feel that's the best way to go. It saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of energy, and it also helps you maintain focus as well. And yes, focus is actually very key. Focus is something that I believe every young African coming up should have. Africa has a lot of problems, a lot of challenges in this age and time that we need to solve, we need to create solutions for, even though we are thinking global, but there's a need to start from where we are today.
We should be global.
Right? Yeah, it should be global, like you said. So yeah, think global, but start local. Basically, that's what that means. Yeah, so yeah, that's the advice from me.
So at what point did you guys decide that I am a problem solver, I am a visionary, I am a builder, I am a creator, and I want to present myself to the world as this person, as an entrepreneur?
I feel, first of all, right, as human beings, we tend to have a lot of doubts in ourselves until we begin to do stuff. So for me, primarily, I started off experimenting my head and my capabilities quite early because I just wanted to. So I feel I didn't really essentially see myself as a problem solver earlier on, I always saw myself as a scientist, a builder, right? Someone who would like to create stuff, an innovator, right, initially. But when I realized that my innovation wasn't well accepted, not like it wasn't good, but it wasn't well accepted, mainly because it wasn't solving a problem, then I decided to go with a problem-solving approach, which now made it much more targeted, more focused. So I believe that growing up also has a lot of value to it. Experience is always the best teacher, right? What you experience always helps you, venture into your specific talents, or help you define your talents, basically, because the talents are there. Everyone has talents. It's not a matter of how you want, it's a matter of you discovering it. It's also a matter of you learning how to use it. It's basically building your talent into skills, right? So I feel one thing that we need to know as individuals is that we need to be deliberate about whatever thing that we want to do. So that will actually what is going to help in unlocking our potential, and then seeing how we can then apply that potential into achieving something huge.
I would say for me, I think I have always loved problems, because I think that was very evident in the fact that growing up, my favorite subject was mathematics. My mom was a mathematics teacher, so I always found it exciting and intriguing. You get, every time I was always looking for the tougher problem. Once I solved this problem, I go search for the tougher problem. I solved all the problems in my maths. There was always that joke like, why is a maths book always sad? Because it has a lot of problems. You get, so I love mathematics. So I think that's problem solving that's one of the reasons why I studied engineering in school. You get, so I just loved taking apart complex things and making them a lot simple and making them make sense. I think that has always been innate. What's changed to become entrepreneurship was the further I grew, I started seeing more problems in Africa. I started seeing more problems that needed solutions. So, and then because I knew that a lot of these problems needed solution, what is the solution to these problems? It is definitely entrepreneurship. It is definitely us creating, because no one understands our problems like we do. You get, uneasy where lies the head that wears the crown. So I guess my head was very uneasy from wearing the big African crown, and I decided, yes, now it was time for me to solve that problem. I think I started coming to this realization at the tail end of my university education. You get, and that was when I started conceptualizing about how to solve the problem of students first. That was what led to me trying to start up a company for students. You get, so, and it was just a gradual growth. You get, and then led to Chekkit as it is right now.
Yep.
Thanks so much for sharing.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.